and welcome to A Hare in the Garden. My name is Katie Hare, and in today's video I will be talking about how much money I saved by growing a summer garden in my backyard. One of the books I read recently, the author exclaimed that in good times people go on vacation and in bad times they grow gardens. If you're anything like me, it has been really painful going to the grocery store the last couple months. So I hope to offset some of the cost of my groceries by growing fresh, healthy, nutrient-dense food in my garden. I'm going to be taking the average cost of the vegetable at my local Trader Joe's where I do most of my grocery shopping, and I'm going to be multiplying it by the number of servings I received out of my garden and then subtracting the amount it cost for seed. First on the block we have basil. At my local Trader Joe's, a basil plant costs $3.99. I've gotten about roughly 5 plants worth of basil. I think, obviously at Trader Joe's, they come in a clump plant. I've gotten about 5 of that amount, which equals out to $19.95. Now the basil seeds that I bought were $2.99, which brings my total to $16.96 that I saved by growing basil in my garden this summer. Next up we have cherry tomatoes, and my cherry tomatoes arguably were my best crop in my garden this summer. I had about 15 servings worth, and it's still going. Now at my local Trader Joe's, a box of cherry tomatoes costs $4.99. So with 15 servings, and again, that's a number that I think will continue to grow as the summer stretches on, I saved $74.85. Now my seeds cost $2.99, which brings my grand total to about $72. I think that this number is going to creep up again as the summer stretches on. My tomatoes show no sign of stopping and slowing down right now, so I think I'm going to have some more servings throughout the summer, and we'll have some follow-up videos moving on to that. Next on the list we have summer squash. Now my summer squash did not do very well this year. Unfortunately, due to high humidity and my soil health not being that great, my summer squash just did not produce the crop that I was hoping for. That being said, I had about 2.5 servings of squash from my garden. At Trader Joe's, the cost is usually $2.49 for 2 summer squash. I produced thus far 5. So again, 2.5 servings of summer squash from my garden, which equals out to $5. Now, the seeds for the summer squash seeds were $2.99. So it brings me to only about $2 that I saved by growing my own summer squash. This was a bit of a disappointment. Next on the list, we have spinach. Now, I'm a relatively new gardener. This is only my 2nd year gardening, and so I didn't know a whole lot about how spinach behaves and how it grows. Spinach tends to be a cool weather leafy green, so it prefers the cooler weather of the early spring or your late fall. I planted spinach with everything else that I was growing this summer. We had a really hot flash in the middle of June, and my spinach bolted, meaning it shot up some flowers and ultimately produced seeds. Now, the reason that this is kind of a bummer is because then the leaves get really bitter and they don't taste that really crisp spinach taste that you're looking for when you have a spinach plant. That being said, I still got 3 servings from my garden. So I was actually very pleased, and ultimately I was able to collect the seeds, and I'm hoping to use those in my garden this year. So in total, my Trader Joe's, a bag of organic spinach usually costs $2.29. I got 3 bags worth of spinach out of my garden, so this brings my total to $6.87. My seeds were $2.69, which brings my total that I saved to $4.18. This next one makes me really happy because it's still producing in my garden, and I think it's going to be a staple moving forward. I decided to grow, instead of growing jack-o'-lantern pumpkins this year, I grew sugar pie pumpkins. And the goal here is that I'll be able to use them for pies and for recipes, and I've just been really pleased with the results. So far this summer, I have produced 6 sugar pie pumpkins, and I have a couple more coming ripe in the next couple weeks. So I'm hoping it continues to grow throughout the fall, and is just something that, again, I'm going to collect those seeds and keep growing year after year. So it might be a little bit different this year, but the average cost of a single sugar pie pumpkin at my local Trader Joe's was $3.99. So with 6 pumpkins produced, I saved $23.94. The seeds were a little bit more expensive. They cost $4.49, bringing my grand total, my net savings, to $19.45. We'll now go from one of my better producing crops to one of my worst. This was my first year growing snap peas, and I was so excited because I heard how easy they are to grow, how fecund they are, that they just will produce and produce and produce and be a great plant. Unfortunately, my trellising wasn't that great for them, and they really didn't do that well. Next year, I'm hoping to extend my trellising, make it taller so they have more room to grow, and put them in a spot where they can get the sun and the nutrients that they need. So at my local Trader Joe's, snap peas usually cost $2.99 for a bag. I said that I got about a bag in my garden. That's probably being a little on the liberal side. I think I probably ended up with really like a half a bag, but for the purpose of this video, we'll say I got 1 serving of snap peas from my garden. So that brings my savings to $2.99. However, the seeds for my snap peas cost $3.49. Unfortunately, I lost 50 cents on my snap peas. It's a bummer, but I want this video to reflect the true cost savings of my garden. So I did lose 50 cents on my snap peas, hoping for a better crop next year. I grew jalapenos for the first time, and I was so excited with how they turned out. They have been just that right hit of really hot without being just too hot. So this is one I hope to grow year after year. My husband loves jalapenos. I'm going to be adding cayenne to the garden next year, so I'm hoping to keep expanding our pepper variety. So at the moment, I have collected roughly 15 jalapenos from the garden. At my local Trader Joe's, usually jalapenos cost about $1 a jalapeno, so that brings our total to $15. The seeds, however, again, a little more expensive. They were $4.49, so my net savings for the jalapenos were $10.51. The next 2 crops were a little bit of a surprise. I used seeds that I had collected from last year's crop, so I really shouldn't be adding in the seed cost since it was collected year over year, but for the sake of this video, I'll just go ahead and add it. I grew exactly 1 acorn squash and 1 butternut squash. Both of these at my local Trader Joe's will go for $1.99 each. Both of these, the seeds that I bought, were $1.99 each. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it was a net, like it was just a net zero on both the butternut and the acorn squash. I think this is one that I'm going to continue to bring back year after year, although I probably will only plant maybe 1 to 2. This next plant is okra. Now at my local Trader Joe's, a single okra will cost $1.99. So far I have had 3 servings, so about, you would say, probably $6 or so from my garden. And again, this is one that's continuing to produce at present. My okra seeds cost $3.99, so it brings my net to about $3. When I was originally making this video, I only had 2 servings of okra from my yard, so I have my original calculations in here, and it shows that I lost a single cent on my okra plant. So just thought that was funny. Since I made the calculations, I have collected a little bit more okra, so I've added to the number, but I didn't update my sheet here, so I had to do quick mental math on that one, but it is no longer a net loss for the okra seed, and for that reason alone, I will bring it back next year. Based on what these vegetables cost at my local Trader Joe's and the amount of servings that I received out of my garden, I saved a grand total gross of $156.56. When I take out the seed cost, it brings me to a total of $124.45 saved just by growing a small summer garden in my backyard. Could have gotten really deep into the minutia and calculated out how much per seed per packet and how much of my germination rate and all of that. And I decided not to do that, again, for the sake of simplicity, to keep this video relatively simple to see just how much I could save by planting a garden. Likewise, I want to mention that I really don't do a whole lot of shopping for my garden aside from seeds. I plant my seeds direct into the ground, and then also I live in an environment where I don't need to water regularly. So I didn't have additional costs like soil, raised garden beds, or water that I had to factor into my savings. So there you have it. That's how much I saved by growing my summer garden. I'll probably make a follow-up video to this later in the summer. We're talking maybe early September, early October. See how much my garden actually produced and update the totals of the amount saved by growing a garden. But we'll see. But for right now, thank you so much for joining today. If you liked this video, please do me a favor, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it as I'm trying to share my garden journey. So again, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and happy gardening.